Welcome to the Pipeline Award-winning show. As always, I am your host, Jason Gibbs. You can find me on Twitter at Pipeline_. You can find me coming to your screen right now. Week 13 preview. We got it. Let's bring in our main guy. You love him, our Canadian counterpart, Roy. I always champion college football every single week. It brings it no matter what the matchups. Now, this week we'll challenge that because this is the annual SEC plays virtually all cupcakes week. So we're going to have to, I guess navigate the minefield a little bit here. And we did take last week off because you were, of course, enjoying your vacation from an undisclosed location in the Bahamas. But I did talk to you before the games. I was all over the place. I couldn't get it. And then I talked to you and then recentered, kicked it out of the park. Tons of winners. Great week. Let's do it again. And you do look well rested, by the way.
I am very tired, but it's only because I can only sleep if I do the podcast. So
That's true.
I missed the podcast last week, so I'm going 2 weeks with no sleep. So I'm looking forward to tonight to get some good rest.
Yes, this is the way. And what are we going to do? We're going to pick some winners as we're been white hot. We don't want to tempt the gambling gods, of course, but we have been white hot. So it's going to be tough to navigate this week, but let's start with a non-cupcake, if you will. Missouri, your team Missouri at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's looked great lately. There was a point where we know John Mateer went out for an injury. They obviously lost the Red River Shootout. He tried to come back. He clearly wasn't at full strength, and they showed that. And then there was kind of a dicey part of their schedule where Oklahoma really could have imploded, and they did not do that. Now they're at home, 6.5-point favorites against Missouri. My guy, Bo Prabula's gone. He's out for the year injured. But the backup, Mike Zollers, I think, what did we settle on? Zollers, if Zollers at your boy? I think that's what.
Zoller at your boy.
Zollers at your boy. He has a live arm. I'm not sure he can navigate this Oklahoma defense to a win, but a cover is interesting here.
It is. The odds makers definitely have this like purely on Oklahoma side. The under is 42.5. 6.5 is a spread for Oklahoma, of course. Very, very interesting statement that you said that Oklahoma has looked good. I'm going to actually counter that and say they have looked great on defense and awful on offense.
Okay.
So the good is in the middle there, but I don't think good can describe their defense, and it definitely does not describe their offense currently.
Well, I guess I should mean Oklahoma's been good in the wins and loss columns when they could have imploded. It could have gone really bad, and it didn't. So they hung in there. They got some tough wins. And to your point, they lost everywhere in the Alabama game except for on the scoreboard, and they were totally outclassed statistically. But we don't, play wins and losses based on statistics. We played on the scoreboard, and so they did come through there. I just think the absolute stud Ahmad Hardy at running back for Mizzou had 300 yards last week, just a monster game. Could they slog this down? I mean, John Mateer, as I said, he did get injured early in the year, and I think he's back to full strength, but it's 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's not really. He was a Heisman candidate early in the year. That's not really Heisman numbers. I know he can run the ball, et cetera, but can Mizzou kind of slog it into the mud? Maybe our guy Zollers makes a few plays over the top and cover this spread. I'm going to go Mizzou here.
Here's some breaking news, though, for you. I don't mean to cut you off.
Okay.
Missouri quarterback Bo Prabula is expected to be upgraded to questionable on the SEC availability report. He's medically cleared.
Pipeline stats and info for that information. Okay.
He's medically cleared to play on Saturday, and it comes down to a coach's decision with
Okay.
player input on how he looks in order for him to play. That final decision will come on Friday after evaluating how he looks. He
Hmm.
dislocated his ankle against Vandy, but the injury was not a fracture.
Okay, so I thought he was out for the year. I thought I had
Yeah, I
heard
did
that.
too.
Maybe we got an incorrect report, and I just kind of filed that away and not
Well, looking
wrote
at
him
the
off.
injury, you thought he's done for the year. There's
Well,
no
yeah, yeah.
reason.
When
I
I
mean,
saw it live, sure,
yeah.
I thought it was really bad. But I like I said, I think I got those reports early on, and I just never followed up on it.
Followed
But
up, man. This was just of an hour ago. Pete Thamel from ESPN reported.
okay, so we'll see. I mean, I will
So
say
it
this.
further pushes your Missouri to cover pick is really why I kind of nuked your entire analysis there on accident.
You know what? You know what? I appreciate you letting me go through the whole rigmarole, not telling me off camera, and let me get up here and embarrass myself. I love it. That's why you're on the show, to keep me in check, keep my
Yeah.
ego in check. But I think whoever starts, I think Prebula. I will say this, against earlier in the year against Alabama, Prebula did look a little bit like the moment was too big for him. I don't know if it will be here. Oklahoma, obviously coming off that stretch that I mentioned about a lot of tough games and coming through against Alabama. I don't want to say it's a letdown game, but you're at home, you're at a lower ranked team. We'll see how they respond. I think they should be fine, but I'm going to go Mizzou here plus 6.5. But let's get
If
to maybe my
sorry,
favorite.
I'm
Oh,
going to
again,
put this out there though. If Oklahoma blows this playoff spot, is their coach on the hot seat?
well, let's talk about Brent Venables, because there was potential it was going to be on a really hot seat if
Yeah.
after Red River Shootout, if things started to go sideways and they hit this tough stretch and they were just dropping the games. You're probably at least the seat's warming up at the bare minimum, but he steadied the ship. I think we can safely say that. But now that they're in a position to make some noise, go to the playoffs, if they then implode into the part of the schedule that they should be okay on,
Right.
maybe those discussions get cranked back up. But are you with me, Mizzou, or are you going to not pick?
I'm going to actually take the under here.
Under,
I think
yeah.
42.5 is the play. Early kickoff, 11 o'clock local time.
Yeah.
They emotional victory for Oklahoma. Alabama, they were partying all week.
Comes out a little sleepy, a little slow.
Missouri with the night game last week and slogged it out. I like the under here, which means it'll probably blow over. Mateer finds himself an arm again, and we go. But I do like the under here. I think for Missouri to win, they actually have to do Oklahoma's game plan and kind of slog it out and drag it down. They can't
run the
they
ball,
can't get
play
no
defense,
yeah,
hold the field goals.
If Hardy has a good game and can wear down that defense, which nobody has been able to wear down the defense. However, I will say this: Oklahoma, in their wins, very impressive wins at Alabama and Tennessee. They should not have won the Tennessee game, but I'll go back.
Nor the Alabama game, but yes.
Yeah, Daisy Dukes bailed them out in Tennessee. But this is probably the first time they're facing, I would say, and this is weird to say, an elite running back.
You wouldn't say Lacey's
in the
elite?
SEC. Sorry, within those last two. I mean, yes, of course, Lacey is elite for Ole Miss. And again, we saw how that game transpired with Ole Miss kind of running away, wearing them down by the end of it. So do you get the same kind of feel here and I don't want to harp too long in this game because we're already done it, but Hardy dragging it down.
Yeah. Hardy's better than Lacey, I think.
Yeah,
Lacey's what, 4.9 yards after contact, which I think is 146 in the country. So
very specific.
Not great in that, and Hardy, I think, is better than that. Will they stack the box and make a possibly rusty Prebula beat them, or Zoller's at your boy over the top? We'll see. But let's get to we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is line wise, this is my favorite game of the week, and of course, I'm talking about That 12:45 kickoff, Charlotte at Georgia. The spread 44.5. I love Charlotte. Let me just experience when Kirby Smart has these big spreads. He obviously had a big game last week. Obviously has a big game coming up next week with Georgia Tech. He just basically halfback dives the entire game. They win a game like 35-10 or something like that. I think I saw a stat. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it's anytime the spread's been over 40, Kirby Smart 0-15.
Wow.
So
the number keeps getting steamed
we don't
up,
need to get
I
into the analysis of this game because clearly Georgia's going to win. But I love Charlotte plus 44.5.
It is a tempting degenerate gamble that everybody would love to do. It is also the only game in its time slot that matters at 12:45. So, let's say you've already nuked your. So for example, last week, if you were a Texas A&M spread better, your bet was pretty much nuked by 12:45.
Right.
So you're moving on to the next game. Yeah, you're moving on to the next game. So I do like it. Maybe maybe those Missouri covers are not looking so great, or after the first quarter, it's 21-21. Oklahoma and Missouri are tied, and your under is nuked. Yeah, you're moving over here. You're throwing some shekels on Charlotte to cover, and being the most degenerate thing ever to root for. At the Buffalo Wild Wings, not sponsored, to root for 1-9 Charlotte to cover against 9-1 Georgia, who has been getting some national championship chatter, and I got to credit you for being early on that.
Preseason.
Yeah.
Long ways to go. How about this? Charlotte 1-9, Oklahoma State 1-9. How before the season would you think you put those two in the same sentence? Now, last note on this. You know what this reminds me of? And you know me, we go back a long ways. I used to circle this week every year.
Yeah.
It was before the Iron Bowl. It was the Nick Saban coach Alabama. They were going to play somebody like the Citadel or somebody.
Yeah.
And I would, before the season would start, I would circle that game and say, go all in on the Citadel because they or whoever it was. It didn't matter who, homeschool university. All in because Saban was not going to pull out all his cards. He was just going to do just enough to win and just enough to keep the kind of surliness going and work on some things in practice, keep the guys' attention. So I'm going Charlotte here, but let's move on to game of the day. I think it's game of the day, probably. I mean,
definitely game of the day.
Yeah. Old school Big Ten, is that what I'm looking at? Big Ten matchup, USC and Oregon. Such a shame. Rip the Big 12 or Pac-12, sorry. Pac-10 even. Rip the Pac-10. But Riley Leonard's was pretty under the radar for a program like USC, for a coach like Riley Leonard.
Lincoln Riley.
Why did I say Riley Leonard? Oh, I just saw a tweet about Riley Leonard. Yep. So I'm sorry.
Duke on your mind. I get you.
No, I think he might start, or somebody said he might start this week. Anyway, Lincoln Riley. Yeah. I need to go on one of those Bahamas vacations. So
I tell you,
in a position 6-1 in the Big Ten to kind of, if they could somehow pull this off in Autzen, watch out. I mean, because they have, I think right now, they have the number one recruiting class. They could start doing some damage. Lincoln Riley went out west, kind of stumbled a little bit, and I don't want to say like faded into obscurity, but faded a little bit further than a program like USC should. Now they're right back. They're 8-2, 6-1 in the Big Ten. They win this game, they're going to position themselves to possibly make the Big Ten champ. I'd have to look at the rest of the league.
It's tough because Ohio State and Indiana are pretty much locked in.
That's true.
Indiana has no more Big Ten games. Ohio State has obviously Michigan next week. So I think they're pretty much on the outside looking at this. However, is a playoff elimination game. Yeah.
I think the loser's done no matter what. I guess some crazy stuff could happen and Oregon still lose and stick in, but I would doubt it. I mean, I think it would have to be total oblivion, especially because it's not like the committee respects them that much. Their biggest game, Indiana at Oregon, they actually lost that. So
right, and then their best win was just last week or 2 weeks ago, or I guess it was maybe 3 weeks ago with Iowa at Iowa. So not an impressive resume for either team.
Yeah. So a playoff, Jaden Mayava doing well for USC, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, just shade less than 2,900 yards. And Oregon, we always kind of historically think about them kind of being this big offensive squad. They're less of that now, but Dante Moore at the helm at quarterback. Over under 59.5, spread Oregon minus 10.5. Which way are you leaning, or are you leaning in either way for either of these two lines?
So one of the strengths for Oregon this year has obviously been their running game. So if you look at USC, what ended up happening at Notre Dame, I mean, they just kind of fell apart on the run defense. Mm-hmm. They really had a chance, even with that, to win the game. Probably should have won the game with a very questionable 4th down call by Lincoln Riley or Riley Leonard, however you want to say it. But
either way, they're related. So yes,
the Oregon strength being one of USC's kind of question marks makes me lean, obviously, Oregon to win. However, 10.5 seems like they're just begging you to take USC. And 59.5 feels like they're begging you to take the under.
Right.
You got a perfect weather day in Oregon. 2 ways to look at this game. Obviously, from Dan Lanning's perspective, you lose this game, your team's out. You may start venturing into those open coaching waters, right? Can I get it done? Maybe I need to go somewhere else to get it done. He's got a great situation in Oregon, great budget, great NIL. He would be, in my opinion, dumb to leave Oregon.
Yes.
But obviously you win this game and you're Dan Lanning and your stock meteorically rises. You're pretty much a lock for the playoff because you're going to skip the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
Unless, Ohio State trips up against Michigan. Probably not likely. But that's always a rivalry game to watch out. I actually like this weird, crazy line to Oregon actually cover late. I think they go up. They're probably up a touchdown late, and then they run the ball, and it's going to be one of those dreaded, will the running back score, or will he take the knee at the one? So I do like Oregon to cover. I really like the under, but that seems like a trap to me.
It does seem a little bit like a trap. And I know I mentioned how well Jaden Mayava is playing, but his counterpart on the outside, Mekhi Lemon, absolutely electric. 1,090 yards, 8 touchdowns, electric plays all over the place. We're used to USC producing those great wide receivers. He's just another in a long line of Trojan wideouts on the outside. But I think I'm going with you too. I think I'm going the Ducks to cover, and I would maybe that late touchdown pushes it over as well. We'll have to wait and see. So another 3:30 game. You want to talk a little bit about Arkansas, Texas? It's kind of weird that Texas is still ranked. I don't know. I mean, the thing is they're 7-3. There was the interesting interview. I don't know if you saw this, Roy, that Sark, I think it was 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, he was talking about how they had some losses, but he was saying, hey, it's year one. If I have 3 or 4 losses in 4 years, then there's a problem. Well, he has 3 losses.
Yeah. They switched conference though. They switched conferences. He's talking Big 12. We weren't talking SEC. I guess You could
But look, 8.5 against a lowly Arkansas team seems low. It does seem like Vegas is begging us to take the Longhorns. I mean, Arkansas 2-8, 0-6. What chance can they possibly have against the mighty Longhorns? I might be a little plucky here. I might go with the Fighting Bobby Petrinos and go Arky plus 8.5. Is that dangerous? I mean, obviously at quarterback, they have an electric playmaker in Taylor Green. Can get it done on the ground and through the air. 19 touchdowns, through the air. And at running back, even Mike Washington, 913 yards, 7 touchdowns. I don't know. It just that line seems like Vegas begging you to take the Longhorns. And what we always do on this show, what does Vegas want us to do? Let's just do the opposite.
Right. So Arkansas is the Maryland of the SEC.
That is true. They are the Maryland.
Pretty much. They pretty much are in every game until the fourth quarter, and then they find a way to just absolutely blow it. And they did it at LSU. They've done it with Auburn. They've done it with everybody this year. 0-6 in the SEC. It's one of those weird things that it's kind of like, is Arkansas really going to go winless in the SEC? Texas, their ranking is really mainly just due to Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma winning has kind of kept them up and running. However, losses to Ohio State, to Georgia, and to, Florida team that potentially could get Lane Kiffin. I mean, there's some three quality losses, if you will. The opportunity for
the Florida quality comes in that they may get Lane Kiffin and improve. Okay,
exactly. So, for this Texas team, you lose this game. Your season's already been, horrible, right? I mean, you started as the number 1 team in the country. You have 3 losses, right? That's not good. 2 in SEC play. And to be honest, very impressive start against Vanderbilt a couple weeks ago, and then almost blow that game, right?
Right.
Yeah, really weren't even in the Georgia game at all, so you didn't even look competitive there.
Yeah.
Ohio State game, week 1, everybody's got nerves and all that stuff. We'll kind of throw that out the window. You should not lose to Florida, especially at the situation that Florida was in, just coming off their loss to potential number 1 USF. The just unfortunate circumstance for Texas. However, they still got the most talent on the field. Sark can still coach as long as his bubble screens are working. But Arkansas is just not very good on defense. And so this has a potential to be a shootout. That's why I think you get another one of these. Will he score? Will he not score? Last moment touchdowns.
For the over.
And
the spread, maybe?
I think so. I mean, I think here you can't possibly bet Arkansas plus 8.5 here just because they are 0-6 in the SEC. It is, Texas's warm up to Texas A&M. So I don't know. I don't feel comfortable doing Arkansas, but I would look at maybe the over here, 58.5.
There's no square on earth that's betting Arkansas. None.
No.
And we talked about, let's talk, obviously you gave them credit for the Oklahoma win, but they could have lost at Kentucky. They probably should have lost at Mississippi State. They could have lost versus Vanderbilt at home. They're 7-3. They really could legitimately have 5 to 6 losses if they had a few more bad bounces. I'm going to go Woo Pig Suey plus 8.5. And let me tell you why. And you alluded to it. They're obviously more talented. They should win this game. But look at that, what they have on the horizon. They have Texas A&M at home. Huge rivalry. Loser leaves the state of Texas for at least this season. I just think it's a little bit of a look ahead. I'm going to go, like I said, what does Vegas want us to do? We're going to do the opposite. I'm going to go Arky plus 8.5. Not huge because you don't want a situation where you've gone 3 or 4 units on them, and then they're down 50-0 in the early in the third quarter. But let's turn the page, and we're going to hit the 7:00 game. Pittsburgh at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech obviously had the loss, and they dropped down accordingly. They're undefeated, and they really, I think, if you look at the numbers, they haven't really played anyone. I mean, they kind of derailed Clemson's season. Clemson was something at the time. Now they're not anything, quote unquote. Pitt, I think they waved the flag before the Notre Dame game even started last week. So I don't know if they were competitive or not. They looked very poorly prepared, and they kind of alluded that in the press conference. But a tiny spread here, unranked Pitt, 5-1. Pitt really wants this game. Georgia Tech needs this game. I don't know. At 2.5, they're just begging us to take the Yellow Jackets, and I'm just not sure. But does Haynes King just put the team on his back and not let them lose? You know, he's accounted for 24 touchdowns this year, 10 through the air, 14 on the ground, and 3,000 total yards, both rushing and passing. Is that the situation, or does Pitt kind of buck up and pull this off?
It's a very interesting game because Georgia Tech really should have 2 losses or 3 losses. And actually pretty bad ones. Wake Forest definitely got hosed in their game.
Yeah, they were gifted that game. That should have 100% been a loss.
And then last week, Boston College really had the clamps on that game and then just gave it up. I mean, it almost felt like Boston College thought they could get a higher draft pick if they just turned it up.
They pulled their starters.
Yeah. It was an unbelievable collapse for a team that really could have had a signature win of their season. But it didn't work out. It is what it is right now. So you look at Georgia Tech, and they've escaped death so much this season. This is they're
the Georgia of the ACC. So
I would agree with this. You have a team that really, tell me a great win for Georgia Tech, right? At the time they beat Clemson, like you said, that was something, but it was only by 3 points. And that,
remember, it was a last second field goal. They ran the team on, kicked it last second. It was tie game. If he misses the field goal, they're going to overtime. I mean, early in the year at Colorado, that team obviously is horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe at Duke, they did handle Duke. Duke was favored in that game, and they really handled them. But it's not like, I mean, you're not going to be waving the flag. Hey, we beat Duke. Hey, look at us. And I will say this. They obviously have Georgia next week. I already mentioned that when I talked about the Bulldogs. But they're not going to be looking ahead. This is super important.
Yeah.
If you lose this game, you're not in the ACC championship. That's just that's just how it is. So,
and for both teams, right? So you have this is basically the ACC playoffs.
Yeah, as the play-in game to the championship.
And Pitt has a tough road, so they are definitely not going to be looking ahead past Georgia Tech, like you said. They just came up, and I think sometimes this works in a team's favor is they come off of a pretty hot streak and they get drubbed by a really good Notre Dame team. Everybody hates to say it, but Notre Dame's good. So now you get drubbed by them, but that was a high quality opponent. Is Notre Dame on the same level as Georgia Tech? Well, they're on a much higher level. So Georgia Tech coming in here maybe has a number next to them, but they really shouldn't be ranked given their performances. I mean, I like Pitt here. I like Pitt here to win. I mean, the home crowd in Atlanta, it is a night game, 7:00. I don't know if the Hawks are in town, so that may take some of the fans away. But
what about the Thrashers?
The Thrash, the Atlanta FC, I think, was eliminated from the MLS Cup. So the all eyes may be on Georgia Tech. on Saturday night. But again, this is the ACC. It's wacky, right? It's like don't hey, Georgia Tech gave 34 points to Boston College.
Yeah, they should have given up more. Oddly enough,
Yeah,
I mean it was bad.
and
I don't know what the tiebreaker is. I'd have to look. I should have checked with Pipeline stats and info before I logged on. But a loss from Georgia Tech would obviously knock them out of the championship game, as we talked about, and a Pittsburgh win would tie them with Virginia. But I'm not sure about SMU. If they win, they would be 6-1 in the conference as well. So I'm not sure
so
who would win the tiebreak between the three.
I believe SMU is on the down part. SMU needs basically they lose all the tiebreakers.
Okay. So it's
So
just
they
a Pitt win and they're in, a Georgia Tech win and they're in.
not necessarily because SMU only has one ACC loss. So if Pitt beats Georgia Tech and then loses to Miami next week, SMU
Okay.
can still hop with just
Gotcha.
one loss.
Yep. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So, but regardless, like we said, this is essentially a playoff game. You know, you lose this, you're out. And
Georgia Tech is not necessarily out of it. They are still in a much good driver's seat, even if they lose to Pitt. And I think that is due to Pitt playing Miami afterwards. But Georgia Tech holds the tiebreakers over everybody.
right, but SMU could just win out. And so Georgia Tech losing, they're not in the driver's seat anymore.
Correct. I mean, SMU, yes, SMU would have to win out. But I believe SMU's road is not very good. They have Louisville and California, so not terrible. So they could actually win out and
winnable games. Louisville obviously tougher, but they do get that at home. So we'll see. We'll have to keep our eye on the ponies here. But
can Virginia Tech play spoiler to Virginia? Is Franklin going to suit
with
up?
James Franklin in the press box looking down, threatening to cut people on the spot if they don't win this game?
Yeah,
that would be amazing. Where's the game? Let me check where the game is. It okay? So it's in Charlottesville. If it were in Lane Stadium, it would be the mother of all crowds, because I know we haven't mentioned it and we're talking about our preview for the week, but just a hell of a hire from the Hokies. I mean, I think this is a home run. I don't think they could. I think they maxed out with the program where they're at, and getting a guy like James Franklin who took Vanderbilt from absolute bottom of the ocean to somewhat respectability, and then Penn State. Yeah, he didn't do well against top 10 teams, but you're not going to face as many Ohio States in the ACC as you do in the Big Ten. So I think it's a great hire. I think that the Hokies, I'm sure he's going to recruit that DMV corridor. And don't get me wrong, he's going to be going after some recruits in Pennsylvania to try and steal them away from his old stomping grounds. But we'll save that for another day. Let's finish up with your Fighting Mormons, BYU, going to Cincinnati. BYU, I don't want to say they're shafted by the CFP rankings, but they are a little bit. They have a better record than, as far as like quality wins and stuff like that, than Oregon, in my opinion. And I think it's almost indisputable. But only 2.5-point favorites going into Nippert Stadium and Cincinnati. I think I could be wrong, Roy. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we've picked BYU correctly against the spread almost every game this year, at least the ones that we've picked. I don't know if we've had a miss yet.
Yeah, no, we
have been locked in on our Fighting
I know the Mormons. Yeah, the Mormons. We bleed blue.
Well, remember, even when they went to Texas Tech, we said it's going to be a blowout. We've just had them dialed in. Sometimes you get those vibes from certain teams. No matter the sport, you can just kind of feel them. And here, oh man, doesn't this just scream Bearcats win outright?
It does. I do worry that Cincinnati is reeling a little bit. You're coming off of 2 losses. Heartbreaker against Arizona. That was a back and forth game.
Mm-hmm.
Game prior to that, though, you traveled to Utah and just get blasted. I
Right.
mean,
Which we
that
called
was
that
their big
correctly,
moment. Yeah,
as
that was their big
we
moment.
do on this podcast.
You come into BYU, who coming off of a absolute domination of TCU.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those games where it's a no brainer to pick BYU, and then you look at it and you're just like, it's Nippert Stadium,
Yeah.
their road primetime team. However, I'm gonna take the Mormons here to cover, and and I'm gonna go. This is a square pick. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But the reason why I think this is because of that disrespect from the college football rankings,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very well coached. I don't think they will have a slip up. I think they will win a close game. Not saying they cover by any stretch, but I could see a 3-point last minute field goal to squeak it out to win. This is a statement game for them, as really the rest of their season, even the UCF game, but it's going to all come down to really the Texas Tech game, because as things shake out and stuff, you're going to look at and you're going to say, well, is the Big 12 runner up good enough to get that at-large bid? That's going to be tough, right? ACC's down to one team. Now you're questioning if Big Ten's going to have 3 or 4 teams.
Right.
A close win by USC, does that squeak 4 teams in for Big Ten?
Yeah, maybe.
USC now has a good loss in Notre Dame. Oregon has a good loss versus Indiana, right? You start getting into those worlds, but
yeah, I mean, I think to your point, I want to say they were outright disrespected, but BYU needs style points.
Yeah.
So a 3-point win at Nippert Stadium, that's not going to impress anybody, even though they covered.
Right.
I mean, if I'm them, I'm got pedal to the metal, full gas, trying to run up the score. I mean, pull a Georgian, go onside kick when you just scored a touchdown and then score another touchdown. I'm going to stay away. I know we said we've kind of dialed in to BYU. I'm afraid because if I just analyzed this and I didn't say, hey, the Fighting Mormons have kind of been our team, we've been locked in, I would just say, okay, I'm going to go Bearcats, because clearly not Cincinnati, Vegas wants us to pick BYU, so I'm going to go Cincinnati. But just in case, I'm going to stay away. I know, like you said, they are very well coached, and I love Parker Kingston on the outside. Brendan Sorsby for the Bearcats has had a great year, 22 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
So really great TD to interception ratio. And I don't know. I'm running away from this game. I'll enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I'll have it dialed in on the quad box, but it's a stay away for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's 8 p.m. primetime game. I'll be flipping between that and the Fighting Lane Kiffins versus Tennessee. See how they do. The SEC has been able.
I just had to look at the schedule, because like, wait a minute, how can I?
I don't know if you know this, but the most expensive house in Gainesville went under contract this week.
Oh, well, we've had I think I saw his daughter was at something at LSU tonight, so we got private planes. This is what I would love. Listen, we're in the content business. This is literally our job, so we love this type of stuff. I do feel bad for Ole Miss fans, because they're kind of being put through the ringer, as is LSU fans, as is Florida fans. But what I would kind of love, and I would love it also just for the overarching, it would be less content. So I'm kind of rooting against myself here. I would love if Lane Kiffin stayed. If he just stayed there and just kind of, they build a statue for him because he stayed there. Maybe he wins a national title. That might be asking a lot, but just kept building the program. You went from kind of not ranked to ranked. Now you're moving up the rankings. Now you're top 10 team often. Sometimes top 5. You've moved into those type spots over the last few years. That's what I would love. I would love that if he trolled all the other fans, even possibly somebody said this, which would be amazing, sabotaging both LSU and Florida to not get their guy and then just stay with Ole Miss, and then they kind of have to have settled, so he weakens 2 opponents. That would be amazing all-time troll 4D chess type stuff. But I hope he stays. Like I said, even though it's rooting against myself, because him going to LSU, him going to Florida is content. We are in the content business. But I do hope he stays. I don't know whether he will. It seems there are times where I just am all but certain that he's gone. But I do hope he stays.
I will say Oxford is a great place. I had the privilege to go to the Florida Ole Miss game last year at the Grove and meet a bunch of fans and have a good time there. And obviously Ole Miss won. They tore down the goalpost. It was an awesome environment. The unfortunate thing for Oxford and for Ole Miss that they're running into is Kiffin is kind of a Florida guy. He's, people may not follow the lineage of his father and stuff like that, but his father was obviously famed defensive coordinator at Tampa Bay for many, many years. Kiffin got his coaching second wind down at FAU at Boca. He's watched his kids grow up in Boca, and then obviously got the opportunities that are presented to him now. He owes a lot to Nick Saban for giving him that second chance.
Yeah,
he's been in that spotlight when USC, Tennessee, of course, and it failing miserably, obviously, in the NFL. He's gone all over the place. And the place that's always treated him well, really, is 2 places. It's been Florida, the state of Florida, and the state of Mississippi. To me, if I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm giving everything I've got to this season. I'm trying like hell to at least get a win at a home playoff game. Not a national title, but a win at home playoff game. Give the Ole Miss fans that environment, that fun. Try like hell, obviously, with a national title. But you're moving on to Florida. That's where your heart is. That's where your home is. That's where the most money is. I mean, Boca is not next to Gainesville, but it's a stone's throw away. It's not, but it's a nice area. It to me, it's where he probably feels most comfortable in the most uncomfortable job in the nation possible. So I think he goes to Florida. I think he gets a 10-year, $15 million a year contract. I think they roll out the red carpet. If you're looking at Florida, I mean, they've really missed since. Urban was the hire, and then you've just had miss after miss after miss after miss. So they've got to go for a big home run splash. They've tried the other routes. They had the big home run defensive coordinator, Will Muschamp. That didn't work. They had the G5 guys, and that hasn't worked. So they've got to go big. They kind of had it with Dan Mullen, you could argue, and which I like Dan Mullen. I thought he was a good hire, and I thought he was a good coach. I think they ran him out a little bit too fast, but
agreed.
A lot of people don't know this, but NCAA trivia for you. Dan Mullen's Dak Prescott led Mississippi State were the first number 1 ranked team in the college playoff rankings ever.
That's true. That is true.
So, I think Lane Kiffin goes to Florida. I hate it for Ole Miss. If you are Ole Miss, you're probably looking at, Tulane's guy down there with Summerall.
Yep.
Maybe you can, and it's a great place. It's a destination area. I don't see him staying though. This is a once in a while. He's not going to LSU, by the way. He's either going to Florida or staying at Ole Miss. I think LSU is just baiting. LSU fans want Lane Kiffin to go there.
Right.
His his daughter is in LSU because she dates the linebacker.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
because
No,
yeah.
I mean, of course, I knew why, but then they were saying, but what if it's also something else?
Yeah, of course. Well, the message board, I saw one post on the message board that was tweeted out and said, Lane Kiffin's son Knox is sources have said he's
Right,
transferring to Baton Rouge High School. It's like next semester. Well, first of all, it's spring,
right.
so it's just be next year. It's not anyway, but I think, yeah, I think for it is going to be such a fascinating offseason, really, next few weeks because Ole Miss is off this week, and then they
Mhm.
have obviously the Egg Bowl.
Egg bowl, yeah.
Rumors are that they're going to announce that hire November 29th, the day after the Egg Bowl, and they're going to let him coach it out. That's the big rumors. So does Ole, and then there's chatter that if Ole Miss just goes burn the ships and just say get away,
Mhm.
we don't want you anymore. The college football rankings saying, well, that would impact their ranking because their coach would not be
That would be
there.
amazing.
So they could FSU him and maybe they get knocked out of the playoffs and he will forever be hated in Ole Miss. And then
He could go from like semi-hero to public enemy number one.
yeah, I've seen it firsthand with Jimbo Fisher.
Yes.
It quickly can happen. Um, it's one of those fascinating storylines. And it kind of goes back to James Franklin's hire at Virginia Tech. How impressive is that with all the competition out here? We talked about it earlier this year that maybe they make a run at Shane Beamer from South Carolina just
Yeah.
for the legacy stuff. Well, that's turned sour, of course, with him on the hot seat. But you go out and you get a James Franklin with LSU opening, with Florida opening, with
Yeah.
Auburn opening. I mean, there's quite a bit.
Arkansas. Yeah.
Arkansas, yeah, Arkansas's
You
got a
you
lot of
know,
money.
I actually tweeted this. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Pypeline_. Think about this, Roy. Oklahoma State and UCLA are both opening. Nobody even mentions them. Nobody
Yeah,
even talks
yeah,
about them. Like, and
yeah.
these are legitimate programs. Those are like historically, solid programs. They've had great wins over the years. I mean, of course, the last few years they're a little bit beaten down, and then they need some revamping. It's like it's almost like they're an FCS school. The way they're just like they're not even an afterthought, and it's
Ah,
just wild. There's so many big openings. There's not going to be enough big coaches. You're going to have big programs rolling the dice on maybe a G5 person or some offensive coordinator that's never actually been a head coach. Maybe it works out, but maybe it doesn't. So it's just going to be nothing but chaos come
I'm a
on.
little, and this is the side effect of the conference realignment, to my opinion, is Oklahoma State,
Yeah.
UCLA just kind of getting left behind now. They've become the Vandies of their conferences, as sad as that is. And you don't get the big time coach, then does that leave you more money to do the NIL? Well, then does recruits really want to go to you? I mean, it could set you back for 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, this NIL stuff can turn it back on in a dime if you get the right hire, of course. But
Yeah.
it's if you're Oklahoma State, you're UCLA, you're just kind of like, I don't know what to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, you miss on this coaching cycle, you literally could destroy your program for like a few years.
yeah,
And that's what I'm saying. There's going to be big programs rolling the dice on guys that are either unproven or unproven at least at the P4 level. And it is going to be super interesting. Maybe it works out, but at best it's going to be a coin flip because we've seen surefire things. Think Luke Fickell to Wisconsin. Hey, he succeeded at Cincinnati, got them into the playoffs. Wisconsin's going to be home. It's been anything but. They've been one of the worst programs in the country. And they're keeping him on because of the money involved. They can't just cut bait and, try and find someone else. The program's going to be run to the ground. And they were like always a great Big Ten team, always solid, run the ball, play defense, slog it out, stack up wins, get Heismans every once in a while. And I don't know. I think that's maybe a little less likely in the SEC because people are willing to just burn through tens of millions of dollars in buyouts. But I don't know how these coaches keep getting buyouts. It's amazing. It's the mother of all coups for the agents. But I guess we could probably save a little bit of that talk for the on season after the season's over. But I think that's going to do it for this episode. Again, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Pipeline_. We'll see you guys next time.
I just want to make sure though. The play of the day is Charlotte plus 44.5. Is that right? Is that what we're going with? Okay. Just want to put that out there for everybody.
I think you wanted that just in case they don't cover. You could slide that in there and zets me right at the end. But
we are white hot with the Charlotte plus 44.5 cover.
I'm all in on Charlotte. The Hornets? No.
The 49ers? Not the wrong one. Yes.
I just went all in on the 49ers. You mean San Francisco? No, I don't.
The green ones.
Before we go, we'll say this. I love their logo. They got the little pickaxe in the sea. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Not quite Milwaukee Brewers level of logos, but good for the best 1-9 logo in the country.
That's awesome.
But we'll see you guys next time on the Pipeline Award-winning show.